the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Let's begin it.
Number ZZ9 plural Z alpha. Number ZZ9.
All the second stage tanks now pressurized. Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Like a furry torpedo to the jugular. This is Honey Badger Radio. Radio with money.
Hello and welcome to HBR Talk 387. Lonely? Congrats! You're the boogeyman now. I'm your host, Hannah Wallen, here with Nonsense Annihilator, Lauren Brooks, and the personification of perceptivity, Mike Stevenson.
Hello.
And we have our friend Richard here today. We haven't brought him in before, but tonight we're going to discuss a couple of articles about incels. Richard has been involved in a couple of documentaries about incels and has been involved with the community for quite some time. He spoke not on stage, but answered a question at ICMI 2019, and I think had just about everybody in the room in tears.
That's what I was going to say. I made the panel cry.
Yeah, it's when you don't understand someone's situation and then they give you the lowdown on what it is. Sometimes that's what ends up happening because you get information you didn't consider. Yeah, and I've got Shadow Wolf in the comments going, I saw the title and chuckled, so what's new? Yeah, it's just been, of late, I've been hearing incel in the media, and it's gotten to the point where anytime I search for anything when I'm looking for topics and stuff like that, I have to sort through media attacks on incels as a population to get to a topic that isn't primarily about incels. So I figure, you know what? It's about time to talk to an incel and have that be the topic.
I should say, I was an incel for 3 years, but only because various governments wouldn't let us be together for 3 years. And I guess Lauren is just as much as an incel as me because she suffered the same fate for 3 fucking years. Whatever.
Yeah, I have not really been in exactly that situation. I have to say all my celibacy has been voluntary, totally voluntary, except for a short time living 80 miles away from my husband, and even then it wasn't really celibacy. So there you go. But before we get into the actual topic and why lonely men and only lonely men are the boogeyman, let's take a look at what we got to do, as always. Honey Badger Radio dishes out a smorgasbord of thought-provoking discussions, and as experiences, both recent and long past, have demonstrated, the provoked thoughts are fighting back. And they're going to hate this show because they hate incels. They made it clear that for people like us, relying on third-party payment platforms like Patreon to fund our work, is treading on thin ice or building our house in the path of a rapidly growing wildfire. In light of this, we strongly encourage our supporters to switch at least their support for us to feedthebadger.com, the most stable way to help us out. And if you want to tip us directly instead of relying on any social media platforms tip jar, the link for that is feedthebadger.com/justtip. And as always, the same risk applies to our social media platforms, which is why you should further provoke the thought police by tracking our thought-provoking discussions on honeybadgerbrigade.com, where you can find your way to all of our content as well as a link to feedthebadger.com in the drop-down menu at the top of the page. Richard Bier asks, what about during playoff season? My husband is actually less into sports than I am, which is odd, but not unheard of. And I don't like necessarily watch them on TV, but he doesn't really like to watch them at all. So there you go. I like to watch them through the lens of a camera on the sidelines. That's where I like to be. But let's get into this. So a while back, Richard sent me an article about a documentary that he was interviewed for, and then the guy didn't use his interview. And I was looking for that, and then he sent me these two articles, and I was thinking we would go over these today. And these are, I'm just going to scroll here so you can see, these are short. If I turned something like this in high school as an essay, I would have gotten an F. But apparently it counts as an article in the Guardian if you put big enough pictures in between. In your
day, Hannah, you needed to present, sources and evidence and logic, rather than just incels bad, kill all the incels. That would get you an A star in school nowadays. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, and also your essay had to say something, and there had to be some sort of rationale, right? But this one's similarly short. It's not quite as, well, yeah, it is quite as short as the other one. I mistook the ad for more article. So yeah, just a few paragraphs each one there. They're not new articles, but they're articles that once I started like skimming them, yeah, we have to look at these. And the first thing that struck me is I always wonder with Guardian writers if it's a pseudonym or if it's actually the person's last name. But then I thought about it. If this individual is actually like Islamic, that's an interesting little side point, because the men who get exploited as warriors, as fighters, both in legitimate battles against terrorism and in terrorist organizations, the men who get talked into becoming suicide bombers in beautiful gardens with lots of drugs and stuff so that they're not thinking straight when they agree to do this, are usually men who don't have any other prospects. They're not the guys that are going to get married and have kids and are going to attend university and become a doctor or some other highly useful profession. They're usually the guys that have a rough time making ends meet, usually the guys that have a rough time finding a partner, maybe don't find a partner. Incels are the ones that get exploited by governments and organizations, terrorist organizations all over the world, as cannon fodder. Well, it's okay to waste this guy, right? And that's their attitude toward him. So it's funny to see the subject addressed, in that manner, by an individual that a lot of times when people in the U.S. will read an article written by someone from the U.K., or someone in the U.K., I should say, with a last name like that, we wonder how long that individual has been there. Based on the immigration situation in the UK.
Akbar, without the H, just means great.
Yeah.
Hence how Allahu Akbar means God.
Yeah.
Great. It's like if your last name is good, which I guess is topical in a way.
Yeah. And actually, there are two spellings for that too. There's good with an e at the end and good without. But yeah, unlike we had a last name on my track team was spelled Dicke, and people used to not know how to pronounce it when they would do the announcements on the different events and stuff. And,
yeah, I could see that.
and he was in field events, and in field events you had being up, meaning you were next.
Oh no, Dick is up.
On
Dick
deck
is,
you were right after the next person, and then if you were after the person who was right after the next person, you were in the hole. So my track coach, every time they mispronounced it over the loudspeakers, they'd start out so and so, up, so and so on deck, and then they wouldn't say anything, and he would know, and he'd be running up the stands going, "It's Sticky!" Do not say "dick in the hole."
I got my dick on deck.
Dick on deck. Yep, dick up.
Dick's
Which
up.
in Ohio vernacular can mean make a mistake. But
never put your dick in a hole. Never put your dick in anything that resembles a hole. It'll never come back.
Or in a box.
There we go.
And not in a large box. The larger the box and the larger the hole, the greater its gravity. Paradoxically,
do not under any circumstances attempt the slit experiment with your dick. You never know what kinds of strange physics can happen after that.
Oh, in the vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, no, that really sucks. That's a bad experience. That really sucks. So, the article, and again, this is 8 months old, but this is about a play, and this woman is, I guess, reviewing this play. The second article is also about the same play, I think. Nope. This is about another.
It's about a documentary.
The documentary. Yeah, another bit of fiction, but they didn't call it fiction when they did it. Okay, so 3 men are gathered, excuse me, in an online forum to speak of women as bitches and Beckys. It's like the first sentence. 3 men are gathered in an online forum to speak of women as bitches and Beckys.
That's outdated slang.
That's funny. Did they think incels invented using Becky as a slur?
Yeah.
What does Becky mean? I've heard about.
Oh,
Stacey.
Becky and Stacey are the same thing, but it's like a different thing.
Did they not know?
So Stacey's like on top tier, Becky's lower tier.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's lower tier from a Chad? Is there such a thing?
No.
Or is there
there's
Chad and no one else?
No, there's Chad, Tyrone, Miguel, and Pichit.
I see. So there's just Chads of different races.
Why do I know what all of those are?
Yeah. So it's just Chads of Chads of different races. So
women have tiers of success. Men are pass fail. That's about right. But they really think incels invented using Becky as a slur.
And Floyd as well.
Well, maybe Floyd, but
and toilet. Incels call women toilets now as well. So
I mean,
so now
no
it's gone for full circle. International Men's Day happens on World Toilet Day, so it's World Women's Day. They've never heard the song though. They've never heard, "Oh my God, Becky, Would you look at her butt?
I think everybody's heard that song.
Yeah.
Even Seamus heard that song.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's not an invention. Incels picked it up clearly, but yeah. Okay. International Men's Day is now world. That's women can't leave anything alone. These are incels. Of course, this is a woman writing about incels too, so there you go. Who boast a coded vocabulary of hate. And valorize male celibacy. A coded vocabulary of hate. Like toxic masculinity, patriarchy, male violence, mansplaining, man-spreading, man-interrupting.
Mm-hmm.
Toxic masculinity.
Man-keeping.
Yeah. But
man-keeping as well.
Oh yeah, man-keeping. Yep. And then of course, the women who want to date high-value men but call all men scroats. Which
and
definitely
they call men they call men moist as well.
Yeah. The language is pretty close between the two, although I think feminists kind of beat incels in terms of hateful terminology, because patriarchy is just their word for blaming all things that they're upset about in the world on the idea of men being in positions of responsibility that women won't do.
But they still get laid and they still be in a relationship though. So why are they complaining?
Yeah, that's true. And now these are fictional characters, by the way. So they came up with these fictional characters. That is until a fourth man among them has sex. Apparently, that's supposed to be a sin or something, I guess. The opening scene is the morning after, and the woman he spent the night with stands hovering behind his laptop. So their names are Cuckboy, Ghost, and Crusher. Cuckboy and his fellow incels, Ghost, Crusher, and Einstein. Oh, geez. Are volubly and virulently anti-women.
This all sounds like the new Wu-Tang Clan.
Well,
there was a Ghostface Killer, wasn't there? I'm sure there was something else.
Ghostface Killer, Inspector Dick, Wake on the Shift, and Method Man.
There was like
but we can't call these guys the Wu-Tang Clan. We can only call them the No Poontang Clan.
Very good. Hey, see, this is why Hannah gets the big bucks.
Big. Yeah.
Did I just name 5 of the Wu-Tang Clan instead of all 9?
If anyone can name all 9, you get a fucking trophy. I mean,
well,
listen,
I can't from New York. So there you go.
I'm from New York, and I can't name all 9 of these motherfuckers. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
There we go.
Was Redman a part of the group, or was he just like a side person?
No, he came after. He came afterwards, but he was never part of the Wu-Tang Clan. He didn't even come out of Shaolin or
I know. What's
Staten Island.
Papa Wu.
Who?
Papa Wu. But he wasn't part of the Wu-Tang Clan either.
I don't know who that is.
So it was like Redman. He was just like an associate.
Not sure.
I want some love for Old Dirty Bastards. Does anyone know Old Dirty Bastards? R.I.P. By the way.
I know who that is.
Yes.
But yeah, I haven't heard that name in a while. Eventually, he's actually going to be old.
He's dead.
Oh no, that's not going to happen then.
Didn't he die?
Did he he died.
He's done.
And he's
died before his first album came out.
That's ironic.
He
Okay,
named his son. He named his son Little Dirty Bastard, and he's a legend forever for that.
and he's a
Now what
legend for
happens
pulling
when
up.
he gets big?
ODB pulled up in the welfare office in a stretch limo to pick up his check.
Oh my god, that's that's great.
True
That
story.
did
So,
happen.
huh?
That did happen.
Yeah, that did happen. This goes on. Feminists have destroyed male and female courtship, says one. But gradually, of course, they have to have this stilted, stereotypical. You just type that feminists have destroyed male and female courtship because that is the natural way that people speak. But gradually, they are shown to be desperate for intimacy once the itch has been scratched by cuckboys hookup with Margaret. And of course, these are actors and actresses, not they didn't use real dialogue from real incels because they won't go near them. First staged at the Edinburgh Fringe last summer. This show about
Edinburgh.
incel.
Edinburgh.
Is it Edinburgh? Okay.
Yeah.
About
It's
incel ideology.
Edinburgh. It's
Edinburgh.
it's spelled Edinburgh, but it's pronounced Edinburgh.
Okay.
So don't
like
let
you're
any-
addressing a skater.
Don't let any Scottish people mock you for saying Edinburgh, because they don't pronounce it how it's spelled either. They say Edinburgh, even though it's spelled Edinburgh. I mean,
I'm
Berg
from Ohio. We call Versailles Versailles, so
I mean,
it's bad.
There's lots of cities with Berg on the end and lots with borough on the end, but Berg and borough are the same word. They come from the same root.
Yeah.
So it
I think
doesn't
we
matter.
discussed that during one of the episodes on the voting history. Before we got sidetracked from that, we get sidetracked a lot on this show. It's
I'm doing it again. Sorry.
Yeah. But this is the part I want to take issue with, right? Incel ideology, right? Because an ideology is essentially made up of not just beliefs about a thing, not just I think this is true or I think that is true, which is what they're using to call it an ideology, but the idea of having a moral code of some sort. Like feminist ideology revolves around a sense of female victimhood, the belief that women's perpetual historical victimhood is true, but their moral code is, and when I say moral, I'm not talking about ethics, guys, so not all morals are good, right? But their moral code involves getting their own back, having a right to it, and fighting for legislative change to get their own back, based on this idea of female victimhood. It used to be the idea that they were going to have all of the rights men have without all of the responsibilities, obligations, and restrictions that men face as a result of those rights. But they sort of threw that over once they got that and weren't fully satisfied, and so now they want more. That's an ideology. We could be said to have an ideology in that most men's rights activists have a goal in their activism of encouraging the public to our morality is essentially, if something is a human right, it's everybody's right. And so we want to encourage the public to accept that idea and move the Overton window on areas where that isn't the case, where something is treated as a human right, but then only women have that right. And either, look at it and say, is this really a right? Or, and if it is, then there has to be a way to respect that right for men. And if you can't do that, then maybe it's not really a right. But I don't know. what do you think, Richard? Do you think incels actually have an ideology, a set of goals, common goals, and a moral code, things that they want to change in the world?
We don't really have a moral code or want to change anything in the world because all incels want is like a partner that's a girlfriend that's really into them. That's all they want. They don't really want any political change or anything like that. So it's not
Doesn't
really.
sound like an ideology.
No,
It sounds
it's
like
not really.
what most people
It's
want.
not because men can't share their grievances online or anywhere else, and the forums and online is the only place where men can vent about their frustrations.
Yeah, not usually without backlash.
Any movements should seek to make itself obsolete. That's what we've been saying about men's rights advocacy for all this time.
And that's what the incels have been saying for a long time as well.
Well, on incels, it's on an individual basis. Like if at any point they actually, get what they want, just enjoy an organic relationship with another human being.
Incels,
then they won't be incels anymore.
Yeah,
the incel problem will go away if something was to be legalized and women will lower their standards, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't like the claim that women's standards are high, because a lot of times it's not height, it's toxicity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned this, I think, on the Tuesday show too. I think a lot of times women forget about things that are important. Like if somebody has a good moral or ethical code of his own, one of the things that really attracted me to my husband was I always knew if I wasn't sure in a group of people, what was going on, he was a guy that I would tell it to me straight, even if he thought I might be upset with what he said to me. And, he didn't coddle me. And that was important. And that I think is a high standard. I want somebody who tells me the truth, even if it takes courage to say it because of what my reaction might be. And, I got together with a guy who is very, very, very bright and a very, very strong personality. And, he's physically strong too, but a strong personality. And if he had not been handsome, I still would have gotten together with him. I dated guys that other gals were like, why are you going out with that guy? He's short. Why are you going out with that guy? He's not good looking. Why are you going out with that guy? He's half bald. And each one had qualities that were very important to me. They just weren't. I think appearance is a shallow quality when you make it your primary thing. It doesn't mean that you can't have standards for appearance. I don't think I've ever dated anybody that was a complete slob, for instance. I've probably always been the complete slob in the relationship. But I think it's a toxic standard to think that your guy has to be the handsomest guy in the room by other women's standards. I think I married the handsomest guy in the world. And nobody can tell me any different. And that's it.
And you did not marry me, Hannah, so you gotta...
No, I married the handsomest guy in the world. Like the guy that I'm in love with. Right?
Whatever.
And that's the way that is. He is, and again, like I said, nobody can tell me different. And I'm always going to have that bias. My sister-in-law says it's not true. She married the handsomest guy in the world. And that's not having a toxic standard. That's seeing, beauty in the person that you love. And I hate when I hear, oh, women have high standards. No, they don't. They have bitchy standards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's why they go for movie characters. Because not the actor. He wasn't the hottest guy on the planet until he played Loki. I never heard of him until he played Loki. And I haven't heard of anything else he's ever done. But women went apeshit for the guy that played Loki because of the character being the god of mischief. And so they like guys that have that, maybe that Chad look to a degree, and a bit effeminate to a degree, but they like the idea that they're taming something. And, well, yeah, he's bad where everyone else is concerned, but I've tamed him, and that's ego and vanity, right? That's a toxic standard.
Yeah, women are very often subjective about these things, and because they're so subjective, they always look upwards. It's called hypergamy. Even if they get Tom, what's his name, the guy who played Loki, they would still think, well, he's not quite enough, and so they would go upwards to fucking Chris Hemsworth or whatever, or to one of the really buff Avengers, and even then they would think, what about the strongest man in the world competition? Look at all these guys. They can lift fucking 50-kilogram Atlas stones and shove them over their head. I want to be with one of them. But once they're one of them, they'll go, well, he's a bit too fat. I want a guy who's a bit in the middle. And then they go back in that direction, and then they go back and forth forever.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what they want.
Yeah.
That's the problem with women. They don't have, they don't look ahead with these things. They don't have an idea. They don't have a design for life. Or it sounds too sinister. They just can't make do with what they have. They want something else, and then something else, and then something else. And yes, I'm sure there are some men who have that problem as well, and that's why so many rich, powerful, influential men can keep going through all these divorces, because they never have quite the right woman. But in terms of men, this only affects the very richest of men. I mean, even Trump is quite happy with Melania, and even most rich, influential men are quite happy with whatever women they have. I mean, rich men. There's this meme about a millionaire wants this perfect Greek goddess of a wife, but a billionaire is quite happy with this ragged-looking fucking prostitute that you'd likely find in a toilet in a club, in a fucking New York club, and that. It's all up in the air with men. Men just want women who are nice to them. They're quite happy with a slightly ugly woman who's nice to them, but women, they're not interested in a man who's nice to them. They want a man who they can show off to their female friends. And
and they want him on a leash.
And that's going to change, because their female friends are going to change their desires depending on what's trendy at the time. It could be a goth guy. It could be a fucking new romantic guy. It could be a fucking bricklayer guy. It could be a trucker guy. It depends what the fucking media is telling them to find attractive at the time. There's all sorts of thought into this, that women want what the consensus tells them to want.
Yeah, and speaking of toxicity, it's bad when you you are with the wrong friends, right? If they meet your partner, and your partner, goes home, and the first thing they say is, "Oh my God, girl, what's the matter with you? What is with that shirt he was wearing?" And all it was just, there's a funny joke on it. Nothing about what they might have in common, or what does she like about him, or none of that. Just, oh, did you see the hole in his shoe? And I've known that type, and they will pick that guy apart. That group of friends will pick that guy apart. A different way of doing things, the way my friends did. Like, we basically, when we checked out to make sure, each one and my group was mixed. There were guys and gals. So you get into a relationship with someone, you bring that boyfriend or that girlfriend out on a fried pickle run. The fried pickle run involved going out to a place that doesn't exist anymore. Was called Hollister's Pizza, and we would just order snack foods, fried pickles and other things like that, and spend a few hours shooting the shit. And if the person, just was able to just be relaxed, laid back with the group and, enjoy banter without trying to be fake or not being nice, like we had pretty minor things that, like you had to be a jerk, or you had to be, maybe looking not able to connect with the group, looking at the rest of us like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? For us to be like, well, maybe you're not really compatible with that guy, or maybe you're not really compatible with that girl. And there weren't very many guys that didn't pass the pickle test. There were a lot more girls that didn't pass the pickle test. They would get upset. The first thing they would do, right, get upset when they find out their new boyfriend has friends that are female. Like, that's a big no-no. You can't have friends that are female. What are you doing? You can't sit next to her. You're here with me. Even though you're sitting next to me and she's on the other side, you're sitting next to her. That's not okay. That's not kosher. And then you get that kind of thing going on. Then it's like, you're heading for trouble, dude. But you didn't see that with a lot of guys, right? You didn't see very many guys not find a niche in the group and be like, telling stupid jokes and talking about their experiences and stuff like that. So I don't know. I always thought of the pickle test as a partner vetting test, but it really vetted more women than men. So, but yeah, you are right, Richard. If women could have more reasonable standards, they would open up to more men. The incel problem would be solved, and so would the imitation incel problem that happens with gals, where they call themselves incels. But yeah, femcells. Femcells are kind of like faux cells.
They don't exist.
Yeah, they might refer to themselves as femcells. They might feel that way about it. But the truth is, if they would broaden their standards, take some of the toxicity out of it, they would find somebody.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as a female incel. Just like, Hannah, you often say there's no such thing as misogyny. I don't know if I would go that far, but that's another subject. But if a woman who's a 3 is willing to settle down with a man who's a 3, we wouldn't have any of these problems when it comes to the relationship between men and women. We wouldn't have these low birth rate problems. So we wouldn't have this problem of sustaining our society. If a woman who's a 5 can happily settle with a man who's a 5, or even if a woman who's an 8 can happily settle with a man who's an 8, everything would be fine. But we have this problem where women can't settle for anything less than 5 stages above her. And if she's anything above a stage 5, that means there is literally no man who's good enough for her. So go on.
The PUAs have done a lot of damage as well.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to elaborate on that one? Because I agree, but I want to hear your take on it.
So a PUA will sleep with a 5, thinking she will get that same type of PUA guy to be in a relationship with, and that 5 will get a big head because she got to sleep with a PUA and stuff like that, and the cycle. So the PUA might have a slow, see that 5 as a slump buster because he was going through a drought, and the woman not knowing,
Go on.
So so and the woman not knowing that she's a slump buster, thinking that she could get a guy to commit to that, for that PUA to commit to her because they just want the relationship. They don't want the actual act, so to speak.
That is a really solid point, and it really rests on how differently a lot of guys look at sex from how a lot of women look at sex, right? women look at sex as something. Most women look at sex as something that they give to men. They don't think of it as something they do with men, and so when a man gets that from them, they think of it as a contract. Well, now you owe me something because I gave you something, and they don't think of it as a moment of intimacy and care and love until after you're married, and then it's you have to romance me because sex has to be intimate and caring and loving, in our marriage, not hot and passionate, and so on. And you get this attitude of you owe me because I opened my legs for you. That women will talk about men having that attitude. You owe me because I bought you dinner. But when it really comes down to it, I think it's more disrespectful to think to presume the other person's boundaries to be erased entirely, not just for one night, not just maybe I might have a chance with you because I showed you that I can be what you want by providing for a night, but now you are not allowed to be a separate person from me anymore. We're a couple because I opened my legs for you. It just something about that just sort of strikes me the same way as going to pick something up and you think it's clean and your hand comes away slimy. It's just not right, and I think that with
I understood that reference.
yeah, I think that with the sexual revolution and its effect on women's attitudes, they've become more reprehensible in their treatment of the opposite sex around treating sex as a transaction than PUAs have been. The PUAs make two mistakes in my book. One of them is what Richard described. The other one is that they teach guys to settle for just sex, just getting laid, and getting laid as much as possible. And I mean, getting laid is nice. We all can agree that it's fun, but
I wouldn't know.
Well, okay, that's fair. But I mean, we can pretty much agree though. Like you've said before, incels want the relationship. They want to be with a woman, and they want to be in a sexual relationship. But just getting laid by itself with no attachment actually is damaging and harmful. And doing that over and over again and splitting yourself off from that person is kind of like, it does the same kind of damage to you psychologically that seeking adrenaline rushes or using steroids or otherwise taking your body to extremes can do to your heart. And so it's not healthy. And the other thing that happens with that is you put yourself in a position that when you do want somebody to be a partner with, to trust you and that you can trust, it becomes a lot harder to find that person because you've seen the most degrading and disgusting elements of the opposite sex now. And you always have to wonder if that's what you've partnered with. It's why it's harder to get into relationships after a divorce when you're the one that's been mistreated, cheated on, abused, whatever. Which cheating is abuse too. But so they teach guys to settle instead of holding women to a standard and reserving themselves for someone that they can trust. And by doing what they do with regard to women and what they do with regard to men, they've kind of degraded things a little bit. Although I think feminists have done a lot more harm, significantly more harm, based on what they've taught women to expect, and what they've taught women to demand, and what they've taught women that they're worth, and all that kind of shit. So, yeah. But on the subject of this play, this is kind of interesting. This writer notes that these incels are desperate for intimacy, and it's only shown because the itch has been scratched by Cuckboy's hookup. So first stage, let's see, I read that part already. A black comedy by Dublin-based writer Jamie Sykes, who directs to. It takes the high-stakes decision to eke laughter from a culture based on hate. They always say that, and sometimes murderous terror. And of course, that's going to cite the same list of killers that aren't incels.
All I do is watch training videos.
Yes. Oh, you misogynist. Wait. Yeah, that's really kind of funny.
What is a culture based on hate and sometimes murderous terror? I mean,
well, obviously it's watching trains.
Oh, watching trains and bus videos.
Oh yeah, buses.
And canal videos.
A culture based on hating other cultures and sometimes murderous terror against other cultures
and on the whole, it succeeds.
That is how it's worked for all of human history, and that's why there have been wars, because the cultures that have survived on hating other cultures to the point of murderous terror, just in case there's any chance of being warred to death, being invaded and slaughtered to death, i.e. war, by other cultures.
And guess who they send in to be cannon fodder?
Men.
Yeah, but mostly men, and most of them are young and unmarried. And many of them are incels.
But I don't want to let it slide that there's another kind of culture based on hate, and that's a culture based on hating your own culture. Mm-hmm. And murderous terror against your own culture. That's what we're seeing in Minnesota at this point. A culture based on hating its own culture, and sometimes murderous terror against its own culture, where the only thing you hate and the only thing you murderously terrorize is those who are trying to maintain your own culture. And this is very much a recent phenomenon. So let's not let that slide. Like that's not what we're dealing with right now. I hesitate to say the word lycophobia because I say it every time we do a fucking stream. But yeah, that is another kind of hate and murderous terror. Like a culture based on xenophobia is, checks notes, every culture ever.
Yeah.
We can dull that down. We can simmer that down so that we don't go like fucking providing billions of dollars of war effort to other cultures. But we can keep ourselves to ourselves and love ourselves to ourselves. Do you see how that's not xenophobia? That's just loving your own kind. But
yep.
that's what leftists, for want of a better word, call hate. Loving your own kind is what these fucking leftist fuckers call hate.
Yeah, they get very upset about it, especially when men do it. Women are supposed to be, they're supposed to be a sisterhood, and blah blah blah, which never works out all that well. But yeah, men are not allowed to have any kind of fraternity, camaraderie, none of that shit. Stop fraternizing with each other. That's very bad, men. In fact, we shouldn't even call it fraternizing because that masculinizes it. Right? Stop humanizing with each other, men. There we go. But it's interesting because in the first paragraph, she's talking about how desperate they are for intimacy, but in the next paragraph, they hate women. So I don't know, man. And I haven't really I've only seen a few things from incel forums because a lot of times it's what somebody posts something. This came from an incel forum, and then I got to go find where it came from if I can, and see what they actually talk about in there. And most of the time it's video games. It's not women. So, and I don't know if it's even an incel forum. But, well, and Shadow Wolf 87 says, it's fraternizing with the enemy, Hannah. But yes, feminists think men are the enemy. Therefore, if you fraternize with other men, you're fraternizing with the enemy. See how that works? Very clever. They're very good at that. So they can make anything that you do bad, even if it's just being friends with other men. And then if you're not friends with other men, that's also bad because it means that men don't understand how to make friends. Very clever.
Or it's benevolent sexism, right? If you only fraternize with other women, that's benevolent sexism. You're being too nice to women, and therefore you're also a misogynist, so you're on the fucking guillotine as well. You fucker.
Or it's womanizing.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's interesting how you can be desperate for intimacy with women and yet somehow hate them. Like, which is it? Is any of this even remotely like what incels are really like, Richard?
Not really. Most of the posts are men complaining about their lives and not getting attention from women in general, or being abused by women. So there's some hate in there, but not a lot of hate. So
yeah, complaining about being abused isn't hate. That's just talking about your experiences. I mean, if we decided that complaining about being abused was hate, then every feminist forum would be a hate forum. They complain about it whether it happens or not.
There's some resentment, but it's not hate. So
yeah, well, that makes sense. Let's see, I can think of immediately. I mean, if you're dealing with people whose standards are toxic and they have a tendency to be abusive toward you, those might be two of the things that are probably subjects of statements of resentment.
yeah. So some incels are like very short. So they're like 5'7", 5'6", and they're like average looking, and they still can't get a date.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Women thinking they got to be taller or be shorter than the guy they're with. But I mean, if I'd have done that, half the guys I dated, I wouldn't have been able to go out with them. I'm kind of tall. I'm not like super tall, but I was 5'9" when I was in my peak height. Middle age now, so I'm shrinking. But I hung out with a lot of girls that were shorter than me, and they had that hang up. If a guy was shorter than me, they would be like, "Oh, you can't go out with him. He's short," and they'd be shorter than him. And I always secretly wondered if they were trying to break me off from this guy so they could date him.
Probably.
But it really was that, sometimes it really was. Well, you can't date that guy. He's short. Like, so? What's that got to do with anything?
Whereas there are men who like women who are shorter than them, and there's no shortage, lol, of men who like women who are taller than them. There's a fetish for everything, and it's not even a fetish. Men aren't that picky. I mean, if all things being normal, maybe they would be, but we live in this age in which, men are generally taught to get whatever they can get, and even if they don't have a fetish, they're perfectly happy with a woman who's a bit taller than them or a bit shorter than them. In fact, there's a lot of men who have a fetish of a woman who's like 10 foot taller than them. I mean, and you can sort of see why. The idea of having a woman whose skin you can crawl all over, it's hypernormal stimulus. You can test this sort of thing with all kinds of animals. Like if chicks are obsessed with a beak that has two red lines on it, then you can show them a even bigger stick that has two red lines on it. They'll go mad for it. And it's the same with men. If you present them any kind of supernormal stimulus, they'll go for it, and that includes very tall women. It includes very fat women. And anything you can put in front of a man that looks like a woman but even more womany, they'll be like, "Oh hell yeah, I'll go with that." And you'd think the same would go for women's attraction to men, but uh, something has been shoved in the way of women's attraction to men. Some unnatural bullshit has been stuffed in the way of women's attraction to men, and it's oh yeah, they oppress you. No matter how tall they are, no matter how strong they are, no matter how rich they are, they're always oppressing you. So you have to go higher every time. Even if you find a 10, fuck it. You have to try and find an 11. But there's no such thing as 11. But these amps go up to 11.
Yep. And the dumb thing is, if men are oppressing women and you go for the top dog in out of the whole pack, right? Wouldn't he oppress you more because he can? If that was real, you would want to. If you were in a real world scenario of men oppressing women, the most attractive guy would be the one who was the least capable of oppressing you, especially if it was actually true that women are equal to men. Which, when you really think about it, so you have a culture. Imagine a culture, right, in which two groups of people, I don't know, Wockets and Weebles, right, and they're identical in every way, except Wockets have an Audi and Weebles have an Innie, and that's it. That's the only difference between them is that they look a little different and they're shaped a little different, but they're equal in strength and capability, intelligence, the capacity for love and morality and ethics and problem solving and all things that people want to know about each other. But somehow, without explanation, for thousands of years, the Wockets have managed to oppress the Weebles so completely that they have never advanced, that they've developed a lack of common sense, that they are kept poor. They have to depend on the Wockets. They've never built anything of significance, and they're not involved in any of the systems and mechanisms that make their civilization exist, other than the production of young Wockets and Weebles, and that's it. And they never have agreed to that. Somehow they've never agreed to that. How on earth would you expect in a population where both of these groups, both of these populations are completely equal in all ways, how would the Wockets maintain that system of oppression? How would they be able to stop the Weebles from just running off and starting their own civilization, or killing them all in their sleep, or fighting back and saying, no, we're not going to take this anymore, you're going to treat us as equals, and then doing it, being equal? You'd either have to have complicit weebles, and in greater than median numbers, right? You'd either have to have that, or it would have to be a lie that both of those populations were identically capable in all ways, were equal in every way. Clearly, somebody lied about something. But you know what happens when you say stuff like that on the internet? You get called misogynist.
You get called a pick me?
Pick me, or an incel. You know, I get called an incel more than I get called a pick me.
Why?
They think I'm a man.
0 days.
Yep.
Oh, also, I think the Tin Man has blocked me on Twitter.
Uh-oh. Well, we can find out why. But
at least it's not that far from block. At least it's not that far from blocking me either as well. So.
Yeah. I probably have been blocked by hundreds of people by this point, even without the block bots. But I don't worry about it too much. I get into arguments sometimes with other MRAs and get blocked too, and I've got some people that block me when they're mad at me, and then they unblock me, and then they start retweeting me, and then they start talking to me again, and then they follow me, and then they get upset with something else I've said, and then they block me again. So I don't get too heated about it, because it's just people do what they're going to do.
Do you know, I've never blocked anyone on Twitter, and I've never encountered someone's Twitter profile only to discover that I'm blocked. Now, that second thing sounds obvious because I'm not going to be presented with their tweets because I'm blocked. But presumably, in some way, people find out that they're blocked by someone because in some way they go to their Twitter page to see what's going on, and then they find out that they're blocked. But yeah, no, this is twofold. I've never blocked anyone on Twitter, and I've never encountered that screen that says this user has blocked you. Because I've never gone that deep. I just don't fucking care all that much to encounter people who I wouldn't have found had I not tried to counteract that block. Like,
have you ever been in a conversation with someone on Twitter and you've had, back and forth comments going back between you, and then all of a sudden you go to respond to something that they said or answer a question they asked you, and it says that you can't?
I've avoided doing that.
Okay, that's why. If you have conversations and you have conversations with people other than your friends on like, I have a lot of conversations with people who are in arguments with feminists or tradcons. Actually, tradcons can be meaner than feminists sometimes. But in any case, you get into a conversation and there's like, I've had conversations I've been in where there's 30 people in the conversation. And as I'm trying to read and follow what's taken place in the conversation, so my comment doesn't come out stupid because I have failed to consider some context or something, I'll run across comments that I can't see because the person has me blocked, or that I can't reply to because the person has me blocked. And now, if there's a comment thread and the original post is by someone who has you blocked, you can't reply to the whole thread.
Sometimes I feel like telling you, Hannah, you don't fucking need to argue with these idiots.
Well, who says I do it because I need to?
No, I'm saying sometimes I feel like saying this, but you get all the way to the end of the road where they fucking block you, and you finally get to see this person has blocked you, and you go, win. Whereas I just as soon as I feel like this person is wasting my time, I just stop fucking talking to them. I might
getting blocked getting blocked in that situation is kind of like achieving a KO in a bar fight.
Yeah, whereas I might mute them because I don't want to block anyone. I want to keep my record of having never blocked anyone strong. But you can still mute them. so that they can keep screaming into the void, thinking you can hear them. But if you block them, they'll just keep screaming until they just stop fucking doing it. But that's the way I do it. I try
I'll tell
to
you what
keep
I
this,
really miss.
I try to keep this Zen aspect of things. Like just don't talk to them. Like
What I really miss
you
is when I
don't
get fed up with someone. I used to be able to tag this account into the conversation called Prometheus, and Prometheus was a bot, so it's blocked. It's not allowed on Twitter anymore. But what it would do was it had this way of speaking that wasn't quite philosophical, but it sounded pseudo-philosophical, and it would reply in this pseudo-philosophical, not nonsensical. Actually, sometimes Prometheus had really good advice on how people could get along with each other and have success as social individuals in the world. But it would, for the rest of the conversation, anytime anybody said anything mean, it would reply to them. And feminists say mean things all the time. Oh, Mangaka says Prometheus got off the internet and wifed up Hometheus. And yeah, it was a lot of fun because I ran into a few feminists that couldn't figure out that it was a bot, and they would argue with it. Mm-hmm. And they would get mad, and they would start accusing it of harassing them, and they would start like calling it a misogynist, and and it would just respond back in this mild, and I would just watch. Like, I watched one gal go on a 3-day bender attacking Prometheus and getting back these kind-hearted, mild-mannered, philosophical sounding, chill pill replies, and she never figured out that it was a bot. But unfortunately, it was kind of like one of those "how do you keep an idiot busy" cards, and it just says that on both sides. And
I really want YouTube to introduce a mute option, because sometimes I get reply guys who will just
have something
who will just respond to every post I make.
You can whitelist commenters, and I think you can blacklist commenters on YouTube. I've never used that function, but I'm pretty sure that it offers both.
But I've trained myself to do it by myself, because I'll still get these notifications from these reply guys, and I've just trained myself to go, oh, it's that
guy.
Yeah. No, don't even read it. Just go.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Not interested. And that's the top end of how you achieve Zen. You just go.
See, now,
nope, just not interested.
There's a lesson in this, though. Men need to do that with low quality women.
Exactly. Full circle. Well done.
Which was the advice Richard gave when he talked about what PUAs do wrong. They don't do that with low quality women. They fail at that. And we talk about the ratings system. Usually, that mostly rides on looks, right? You're a 5 if you're halfway pretty. You're a 10 if you're drop dead gorgeous. If you back in the original Dungeons and Dragons days, if you had a comeliness of 18, right, then you're a 10. But honestly, I would rather be with someone that had a comeliness score of 5, but was a really cool person who was a lot of fun to talk to, and was a really great problem solver. Right? If I was, especially if I was dating women, I would worry a lot more about those personality characteristics. It's even more of a serious issue when you're dating female partners than male partners, because a female partner can lie to the state about you and take everything you have and get you locked up for years and years for nothing. You did nothing, right? So, like, that character matters a hell of a lot more than looks. But, and I guess that's just, I think that's pretty solid advice. And I think that's probably the biggest disservice the PUA community does to guys is it puts them at risk for that experience. Right? There's no way to protect yourself when you're engaging with women in any type of relationship-oriented scenario, whether you're having sex or just dating without having sex or hanging out and hoping to get a date or flirting, even working at a job and maintaining a professional relationship that's completely platonic. You still can get that, go through that experience. A woman lies about you and you lose your job. Or worse, you get prosecuted. Yeah, that's pickup artistry is dangerous for men. Not because it puts them at risk of not being able to find the right woman, although it does that as well, because you flood yourself with bad examples. But because it puts men at risk of being put in jail by one of those bad examples. But going on with this play, like this play is I'm already thinking I wouldn't be able to sit through 5 minutes of this play. Visually, it has a ludicrous setup, actors carrying aluminum frames in lieu of laptop scenes, and here's where that's what this image is. This guy looks thrilled to be there, by the way. Let's see. Which, when they glitch or are turned off, show characters comically frozen on the screen. The script sometimes elicits sympathy for these men. How dare it do that? Oh my god. Sympathy for men who might be lonely and need emotional support for their circumstances. How dare they? I lost my place. That does piss me off. Like, it sometimes elicits sympathy for these men, some of whom were terribly bullied boys once, and then it goes straight from they were terribly bullied boys to all of whom are evidently lonely, inadequate outsiders. Their contempt for women turns your stomach, but their loathing is turned inward too. Like, you can't be sympathetic for more than a split second there, can you? With graphic self-hatred, depression, and an almost fetished attitude towards suicide. Although the drama does not go further into that darkness. So
it's not really a fetish towards suicide. It's more for suicide. It's a suicide topic, but I can't pronounce the word.
Type it into the chat, into the like where the last thing that was about the okay. Yeah, the last you typed in there just before we were typing about the Wu-Tang Clan. Type into that chat what the word is that you're trying to think of. But just from talking to you about it in the past, I've gotten the impression that quite a bit, and also being reassured by the guys in like our Discord, quite a bit of it is dark humor. Whereas I think these people are taking it all 100% seriously.
Suicide ideation?
Ideation, okay. So sort of talking about feeling better off dead?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. No,
I have to be careful on what I say to certain staff members.
Right.
So because they will report it to some people. So
right. But it does, in a way, it makes sense. I mean, if you're in a situation where you feel like you can't find your place in society, right? You can't find your niche, and you don't have the social connections and support that people usually need, that causes depression, and depression can cause suicidal ideation, right? And that kind of follows. So it's not a good thing, but it's not unreasonable. It's a reasonable response to unreasonable circumstances. And the most appropriate response, if women were the caring and fair sex that they purport to be, the loving and gentle sex, would be, oh gosh, what can we do to make you guys feel more supported and alleviate some of that depression? That would be the, compassionate and caring human response. A group of people that's in pain, you see a group of people that's in pain, and your goal then would be, what can we do to reduce that pain and strengthen them against it? That's what women expect from men. That's what women demand from men, even over mundane things. But then it takes an adult to actually deliver on that, and women have stopped reaching adulthood. This is one I really have a rough time with other women because of this. Go ahead, Richard.
It's whenever women start to get male attention, that's when they stop growing.
Yeah. That's fitting too. Ego is a killer of self-assessment and self-criticism, and without those things, it's hard to have personal growth. You have to be able to be down on yourself with the idea that you want to change things and not retain the characteristics that you're down on in order to have personal growth.
So it makes sense that women who never had a dad figure in the first place never got male attention in the first place. So when they stopped receiving male attention in the first place was the moment they were born.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense that from the moment they were born, they became fucking slags, or whatever word you had for it. Sluts. Well, slags is a bit more a broader topic. Well, no, it's about the same. Women who were never afforded the boundaries of male attention. In any given context, never appreciate those boundaries, where they're told that you shouldn't just cast your net as wide as you possibly can in terms of trying to get male attention, and that's hence this meme.
Yeah.
Women who didn't have dads will become drag queen slags, and men who never had dads will also become drag queen slags.
Well, one difference is women who never had dads will cast that net, that wide net, right, as wide as they possibly can for male attention, and then they'll bitch about 90% of what they get. Whereas I've never run into a drag queen that didn't take a compliment well.
Some drag queens actually went into it for the artistic merit of it, and they will tell you, no, I'm doing this for adult entertainment.
I'm doing this for artistry.
Don't send your kids to my show. For the love of God, don't send your kids to my show.
Yeah.
And don't tell people that I'm actually a woman. That's fucking mental. I'm doing this for the sake of performativity.
One of my old friends was like that. He actually was very upset because somebody brought a kid to his show. And he was like, what do they think we're doing here? I'm out there shaking my tush. I don't want a kid watching me shake my tush. That's gross. It's just like, it's one of the few people I've heard use the word tush for bottom. But, and it was adorable to hear. But at the same time, I mean, I understand the point. Like, you're embarrassed to act like that in front of a child because a child hasn't reached the age of being able to enjoy that and understand it. For a child to see that as creepy for the child. And so you'd feel like a creep being watched by a child. And that would be very upsetting.
I remember going to a wedding reception when I was like 13, and there was this belly dancer turning up.
Oh yeah.
And I was incredibly embarrassed, even though I was 13. I had these fucking hormones fucking flowing through myself, and I was like, "This is horrible. I can't like."
Yeah.
I can't get on board with this. This isn't.
It'd be like I don't know. It'd be like being a teenage girl at a wedding and they have an entertainer show up in a banana hammock almost. Which that would be more like what you'd see at a bachelorette party, right? Or I guess in some places they call it a hen party. But I don't think people realize exactly what happens with boys' raging hormones unless they were a boy once either. Like girls, women, they really don't understand the difference. Like our hormones get out of whack when we're in our adolescence and stuff. And we get all emotional and everything too. But I don't think we are as affected by visuals as guys are. And we don't have things like random erections that guys have to go through. And I cannot imagine how that must feel. And then the other thing, like the one thing that I was able to support my son going through that I think my mom didn't understand with my brother was when he hit the age where you just start getting, for a while, you start getting mad at everything because your hormones are out of whack. That happened to me when I was a teenager because I was on steroids for asthma. So I understood. And he was like, Mom, I don't know why I'm mad. And I was like, it's okay. It's because you're a teenager and you just have to ride it out. You know? But my mom would be like, well, if you don't understand why you're mad, then there's something wrong with you. And my dad had to explain to her, no, this just happens to boys. And she grew up with her brothers, but they shielded her from that because she was a girl. And I think that's part of the problem with girls. We grow up shielded from way too much stuff. And it's always been a benefit for me that I grew up in a neighborhood where there weren't as many girls as there were boys. And so I didn't get shielded from as much of it.
And yeah, some tweet I heard recently about the difference between boys getting raped by their teachers and girls getting raped by their teachers, heterosexually, respectively, is that girls want romance. So when they get raped by their male teachers, it doesn't count as romance, and so they get traumatized. Whereas boys just want sex; they don't want romance. They just want to get They just want to get their junk shuffled and what have you. But this flies in the face of what I was talking about now. I sat there as a 13-year-old watching a belly dancer dance in front of me, and I was like, "This is really uncomfortable." I don't know why.
It's creepy.
It's like, because I don't just want sexual stimulation. But when I was 13,
and when you when you read more into the outcomes that boys experience after they have been raped by their teacher. You run into numerous stories of boys who ended up attempting suicide after the breakup of the relationship or during the relationship because they didn't want the relationship or because they couldn't emotionally handle the relationship.
Yeah, if a woman of almost any age, though, presumably a younger age, if my teacher had come up to me and expressed an actual romantic interest in me, and like being all "I love you" and stuff, I might have got pulled into that. I might have been like, "Oh yay, I've got something going on here," and I would have been like, "Okay, let's do this." Do you see the difference between that and a fucking belly dancer, fucking running around, not even close to you, but in the same fucking reception hall at a fucking wedding reception? That's the difference. Like, just this reception of sexual images, it makes teenage boys feel kind of weird. Not all of us, obviously. Maybe I'm a bit fucking ADHD, maybe a bit autistic or something. But yeah, and there are some teenage boys that are a bit oversexed, and they would have been like, "Oh, but you know, just people like to excuse this idea of teachers seducing boys as if to say boys just want sex. That's all they want. They just want friction on their genitals. No, good God, no. Like, that's all you're doing there is just portraying boys as like fucking chimpanzees that just want friction. They're just animals that just want animal sex. No, they're not. Like, boys are they're much like girls. They want an emotional connection, and if they are presented with that emotional connection from a teacher who just wants to fucking rape them, then they are just as vulnerable to that as a teenage girl is.
Which is why that's why the most dangerous man alive, according to feminists, banned from Australia for being a pickup artist. I'm not talking about the one everybody's thinking of now, but y'all remember Roosh? Got married, settled down, and he went religious and completely dropped out of the spotlight.
Get out of here. Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Because he found partnership instead of just sex.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people want that. And by the way, in my area, it is not traditional to have belly dancers at weddings. We usually just have someone sing Sunrise Sunset from Fiddler on the Roof. And have, usually there'll be, a series of dances at the reception where the bride dances with her dad and to some song like Butterfly Kisses and about being raised or raising your daughter and seeing her grow up. And usually the groom dancing with his mother will dance to Mama by Boyz II Men. But you don't really see much sexuality displayed at weddings. The most risque thing that happens is the groom pulling the garter off of the bride's leg and then tossing it to the groomsman, and the groomsman that catches it has to dance with the bridesmaid that catches the bouquet. And that's it. And the level of sexuality involved there depends on how high up the bride has placed the garter when she put it on before the wedding. So, and it's like everything else is all cutesy and family oriented, which is the way a wedding should be, because it's a celebration of the expansion of your family by bringing in the partner that your family member just married and their family into the fold of your family. But yeah,
Yeah, my point is, boys have emotions. You know
yeah,
how girls have emotions? Yeah, boys
boys
have
have
those too.
emotions too. Yeah,
And those emotions are also connected to that weird sexual chemistry that's going on in their teenage years. So yeah, but don't rape teenage girls and don't rape teenage boys either. Um, uh, a uh, a fucking adult doing that shit to a boy is just
yeah.
as harmful as an adult
That's
doing
to a
that
girl.
to to a teenage girl. Don't do it,
Yep.
please. And
And people who
don't fucking go on going, oh nice, he just enjoyed it. Please don't do that. Like,
no,
please,
don't do
for the
that.
love of God, it's all fucking nonsense at the end of the day. Please.
In fact, people will do that to boys. Well, they won't acknowledge that girls also have that. They don't realize how bad it was until later.
Mm.
I had a friend in my 4-H club who, when she hit high school, I was still in junior high, and one of the junior high school teachers, in fact, my first track coach, um, he raped her, and that's not the way she saw it. She saw it as he was her boyfriend, and the reason he got caught was because the guidance counselor at my school, she built a rapport with the girls in the school, that she was counseling on where to go to college and stuff like that, by making small talk about their boyfriends. And this girl makes small talk about her boyfriend and lets slip that they're having sex. Well, then she lets slip who it is. And of course, the guidance counselor is like, wait a minute, that's not a boyfriend. And of course, has to go and get the girl helped out and everything. And she was very distraught over the situation initially, because she felt like she had gotten him into trouble wrongly, when in fact she had been victimized. And it's society will help a girl in that situation to understand, no, you've been victimized and you can recover from this, and that's not the way a relationship works, and and so on. And they'll give her therapy and all kinds of things because she's female, and they can recognize her victimhood. But if it had been, well, when it was the boy who was raped by my gym teacher, she was just let go by the school. She didn't go spend any years in jail. And I don't think anybody treated him like he'd been victimized. There were people that treated him like he had done something wrong, and she got in trouble for it. And to my knowledge, she moved on to another school and ended up teaching there. And this woman she was a equal opportunity perv, by the way. She used to watch us in the shower, under the guise of making sure that we did our proper hygienic, like a bunch of 15, 16-year-old girls with raging hormones that are crushing on at least one guy in the school are going to run around being stinky after gym class, because that'll definitely get us a date. But yeah, she would actually stand in the doorway of the shower with a clipboard and watch to make sure that we washed up, which, now looking back, I don't believe that that's what she was concerned about. So, but in any case, it's treated completely differently when the victim is a boy or when the perpetrator is a woman. When parents complained about her doing that in the locker room, they treated it like she was just being overzealous about hygiene. I don't think she was being anything about hygiene.
And this is like male athletes competing against female athletes. Like, well, it's not quite the same, but I mean, it is basically that. I mean, it's even worse in a way.
Depends on the sport.
In the way that men are physically stronger than women. I mean, who is sexually stronger, men or women? Yeah, I mean, it's about the same.
It depends on the
it?
sport. Is the sport getting someone to pursue you, or is the sport persuading someone to accept your attention?
It's hard to say because we don't have male belly dancers.
Oh, we do. We just don't
in
do
male
dance the
wedding
same way.
impressions.
Yeah, we don't. We had belly dancers that are male. One of my friends was a male belly dancer, but his costume and his moves were not the same as that of the women. They were much. In fact, he had this one dance where he had a sword on his head, and it was a very masculine dance, and it took quite a bit of strength to do it. But
and then you have to consider what people have to watch on television and indeed in the streets outside every nightclub. Do they see scantily clad males?
Yeah.
They generally don't, but they do see. I mean, teenage boys do see women dressed as whores everywhere, not just outside nightclubs, but everywhere, including on the television, including in movies, including everywhere. And might that drive them somewhere? I mean, what does a male prostitute even wear?
Well, it depends on whether he's seeking male or female clients.
There's no such thing as female clients, is there?
Yes, yes, there are.
Except in the West Indies, where these women go to get male prostitutes.
You are mistaken, sir.
There
are male prostitutes in the United States right now that serve female clients.
Mm-hmm.
There are women my age who, now a lot of women my age that want to do this will go to a foreign country because it's easier to not get caught. But there are women my age who seek out prostitutes who are young homeless guys that they can get away with exploiting. Plenty of cougars out there. And it's just, if you, any parents that are raising a son, you want to make sure a young man knows that there is absolutely nothing special about women in their 40s and 50s that makes them any kind of spectacular prospect. But there's a lot they should question about why she's interested in them, because they're every bit as, in fact, more predatory and pervy than men who seek out younger women because they're younger and not because they're energetic or have new ideas, but because they're more naive or whatever, less mature. Both sexes, when they do that, when it's a deliberate, like, that's all you're going to go for, and you won't have anything to do with people that can keep up with you, that's questionable, right? But it's not more questionable when men do it. It's just more questioned when men do it. And sometimes it's wrongly questioned. So, but this goes on, and we're actually pretty close here to the end. Sorry, I keep putting my cursor up at the top, and then when I hit it, I screw up the page or open a tab or whatever. But to get it out of my way. This thing, though, this inability to see her own lack of compassion for actual incels in this article, I think that's probably one of the sickest things I've seen a woman do. In one paragraph, she goes from recognizing some of these boys were terribly bullied as kids. Some of these guys were terribly bullied as kids. They're lonely. They have social handicaps, right? And then it just jumps to their contempt for women turns your stomach. Like, have you considered that if they have contempt for women, it might be because they were terribly bullied by them when they were boys? Or terribly bullied by girls when they were boys?
Nah, that couldn't be it. It's misogyny.
Yeah. Yep, my knees are the soggiest of knees. Oh my gosh. And this is why I have doubts about the existence of misogyny. Like, just give me a real life example of actual misogyny, something that you can point to and say this is misogyny. This happens in real life, and it is actual misogyny. The primary reason why it happens is just out of an unfounded hatred for women.
Well, it's obviously founded.
Well, see, that if it's founded, right, it's not really misogynistic. It's a reaction to something.
Well, in that case, misandry is founded by the education system and the mass media that has taught women to hate men. Right?
Well, no, it's not founded. It's caused. Founded would be more like if every guy a woman knows beat on her or called her a pig or took things away from her without her consent and without trading anything in return. She hated men because of that. Then it would be at least founded. There might be a reason for it, right?
So it's theoretically possible,
right? But I've yet to meet that chick. Like, so I'm like, oh, I say, so what real life examples? What's a real, genuine example of misogyny where a guy hasn't spent his whole life being abused by women. He hasn't been divorced. He hasn't been rejected. Nothing has given him due cause to feel this way, but he's just misogynistic because he looks down on women for no reason. Like that's I haven't run into that. Anytime I've run into a guy that other people would call misogynistic, when you examine his behavior, you trace it back to something that women have done or some way that women have failed him and now he doesn't trust them. His mother was abusive. He's been raped by a woman. He's been lied about by a woman.
The first one, the second one, and the third one.
Yeah, see, and so when you misogynist, it's like, okay, but I've got a good reason.
Well, yeah, that's what I would say. Misogyny is possible, but it exists for a good reason.
Right? But misandry, when you run into misandry, it's almost never like that. Like, there are women who have been rape victims, and yeah, you could hate men for that if that was your only experience, right? But most women have counter experiences to that. Like my whole life, sure, there were a very small handful of guys that did horrible things to me, and a small handful of girls also that did horrible things to me. My main experience, though, my most common experience with male human beings of all ages has been that they've tried to help me in some way during their association with me. Like that's helpfulness has been the primary quality of masculinity that I have encountered. And the most common characteristic that I encounter in men and boys. And it's been that way at every stage of my life, from men and boys during that stage of my life. That if I've had any length of time where I've been a friend, a colleague, a fellow parishioner at a church, an educator, a student, whatever, family members, at some point, I've noticed that they try to help me. and on a regular basis, not just like one time. It's not like that with women, not like that with girls. Like there's been some. I've had some very good friends that have been kind to me, and some family members that have been kind to me. But the primary characteristic that I run into, that I've experienced from other women, has been that they think they're better than me. And if I do something to contradict that, they get offended.
So we can say misandry exists, but never for a good reason. But misogyny exists for no good reason.
Well, misogyny. I would put misogyny in a total different category than misandry because of that, right? Misandry exists because women generalize one individual to the entire male population, right? What gets called misogyny is often a response to a common experience of meanness from women or lack of compassion from women or females in general, right? Not just one person does something wrong and then everybody's responsible for it. And you see what I mean? That's why I don't treat the two as equal, and so I don't like to consider misogyny. Or we knocked Lauren out. Does she know how cute she is?
Someone's got to wake Lauren up.
Yeah. So, well, I will go on with this. When it is at its best when it captures the men's twisted sexual hunger. This is the weirdest thing. Women, they chant, and you feel their resentful yearning. So it keeps going back and forth, right? Incels are supposed to hate women. Right? Well, I don't hate very many people, but I have experienced hatred, short bursts of hatred for people. And my response to that feeling is to avoid the individual as much as humanly possible. But that's just me. I think that's pretty normal. If you hate somebody, if you really genuinely hate somebody, you avoid them, right? You don't go seeking interactions with them and talk about how much you wish you could be together with them.
But we get women in the forums both on occasion to come in and disrupt the forums a lot.
Get women on the what? Oh, the forums?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they come in to talk because they consider themselves incels more often, or because they want to gawk at the incels?
Gawk and get attention.
That's kind of gross. Yeah, thinking about that. I mean, it'd be one thing if, there was. There we go. I think I found a way to mute Lauren. Hopefully that doesn't keep her from talking if she wakes up. But like, it'd be one thing if you had a forum where there was discussion about politics or gaming, and it was a debate forum, and somebody would lurk just to see what people are thinking. But to leer at other people's pain is gross.
And that's how we get insult tears on Reddit.
Cheetah Pete's.
Yep.
Oh, they know who I am as well. So.
Oh well. See, then you're famous.
Only in the incel community, and on Kiwi Farms as well.
Oh gosh, Kiwi Farms. It was really cool when Kiwi Farms disappeared for a while. That's about the most I can say about Kiwi Farms. But yeah, considering this complete, again, that lack of compassion, right? Wanting to have intimacy, wanting to have a partner is a twisted sexual hunger when men experience it. That's what she's communicating here.
But society is more sympathetic towards femcells than incels.
Yeah.
Wanting to have a male partner is similarly toxic as a man who wants to have a female partner.
There you go.
You see how that works?
Yeah. I mean, there can be toxic things about your ideas about relationships, right? PUAs, I think it's the idea that sex is transactional and relationships have to be transactional. That's toxic. When you make a good relationship by finding somebody with whom you have common values, common goals and interests, that you like to spend time with that person and you like to hear what they have to say and you like to tell them what you have to say and they enjoy hearing it and they enjoy telling you what's on their mind. You have shared dreams basically and you share them with each other and enjoy the sharing. And of course intimacy, sexual intimacy. But you don't want to make that into something that I did this for you, now you owe me something, right? I got you an expensive gift for your birthday, so for my birthday you have to get me something expensive. People who keep tabs like that in relationships, that drives me nuts. And I think that's toxic. And I think the idea that you have to manipulate someone into being loyal to you is toxic. And the idea that you have to have your loyalty has to be earned after your love has been earned, and you've made a commitment to somebody, that your loyalty has to continue to be earned by anything other than meeting loyalty with loyalty, right? You just build mutual trust in a real relationship. You build mutual trust and mutual dedication, and it's you and your partner against the world in a lot of ways. But this toxic idea that people have, where it's got to be, the guy's got to continually romance the woman in order to keep her interested in him, and she's got to continually seduce him in order to keep him interested. Not because it's fun, but just to keep him interested, because it is fun to seduce, and it is fun to romance your partner too. And both sexes should get to do the fun parts of that, right? But it's toxic to think that one has to do those things, or it's goodbye to the relationship. So you can have toxic reasons for, but I don't think that's what's going on with incels. It seems to me that this writer has mentioned a desire for intimacy and then referred to it as a twisted sexual hunger, as if that's all they cared about. And Richard, didn't you say that incels want relationships?
Yeah, pretty much. They want relationships, basically. So, but people keep saying they should go see a sex worker, but they're stuck with what they want. So,
because a sex worker is somebody that gets paid to leave after sex, essentially. Yeah. Which isn't really that much of a relationship. Yeah. I'm I think by the way, the first place I heard that was Paul Elam, and I think that he may have originated that. But a sex worker, it doesn't get paid just for sex. She gets paid to leave after sex. And I think a lot of women do not understand like the difference between a man just wanting to get laid and wanting a woman to leave afterward, and a man wanting a companion. That's probably why so many women suck at companionship.
Charlie Sheen used to say that a lot as well.
Yeah, that's probably where it originated, actually. It sounds like the kind of perfect smartass comment he may make. One One of my favorite smartasses. But yeah, so goes on. The actors give a thoroughly fabulous performances. Oh, of course she would like those performances because they portray men the way she wants to see them. And the show includes breakouts of music. Oh God, it's a musical about incels. That's a train wreck. Of music and movement that archly reflect the men's sexual frustration in dance. And turn into expressions of inner turmoil with wavy-armed Kate Bush-style emoting. These interludes are very amusing, but perhaps repeated too often to a lessened effect. Oh, it gets old. Margaret is too conveniently a journalist who wants to find out what makes these men tick. So this play actually targeted Namakates? Does she?
I think it's like a it's like a stand-in for her, I guess.
Wow, they really hated her. Wow. All too conveniently, she makes all the intellectual counter-challenging arguments against inceldom, throwing the Magdalene laundries and Irish laws around contraception into the mix. Okay, what are the Magdalene laundries? This is something that I am unfamiliar with.
Me too.
Oh, good. I'm not alone then. I realize Irish laws around contraception probably have to do with Catholicism.
Oh yeah, because they banned the birth control and abortion over there.
But what does that have to do with inceldom?
They think incels are in charge.
Oh wow. That's quite they looked at who is like there's always a leader and an equivalent of a first lady. Okay. Wow.
You still got to mute Lauren again.
Oh, do I need to unmute Lauren?
No, mute Lauren.
Huh. Everybody else can hear her but me, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
That sucks. Well, I will unmute her. Let's see. I don't know what else to I know what I'll do.
At this point, it just feels like punctuation.
Yeah.
Like every 15 seconds, you get a full stop.
Well, it's what happens when you fall asleep at your computer. But somewhere in here, there's actually a spot for being AFK, and I can't find it. Oh well, we're almost done. I won't worry about it. It is adorable. And it is late, and for where she is, especially after getting up early in the morning to go to work. See, I get lucky. I nap before the show, but it's because I work at night. So I don't get sleepy this time of night. I'm like waking up more as the show goes on because normally I would be up until about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So let's see here. So Margaret is Namakates, but a feminist version of Namakates, which doesn't make any fucking sense at all. But okay. The men threaten to dox her, and it is a potentially terrifying moment. Especially in light of the misogynistic online threats that women all too often receive. But the danger here is too quickly neutered. I'm sorry, but it's pretty easy to neuter that kind of danger. There's a block button. And if you really take the threat seriously, if you think the person's actually going to show up on your doorstep, cops exist. You file a report. Like, that's pretty simple. And then the individual knows if anything happens to you, the cops are going to come talk to them. But, the ending does not have the punch it might. She wanted something bad to happen. Yet this play is gripping, queasily entertaining, and shows signs of arresting originality. I'm going to throw up. Sykes is definitely one to watch. And that's that article. We will have to have you back, Richard, because it's 9:00 here, which I think that makes it like, what, 2 a.m. where you are?
Yeah, it's 2 a.m.
Mike? Yeah.
We will stop when we say we are to stop.
Well, I still have an
Richard.
after show to do. A patron
Richard,
only
do you want
after
to
show.
stop? Let us know when you want to stop, Richard.
We still got an after show to do, so
Yeah. Yeah. And usually by the end of the patron only after show, it's like 4:00 in the morning in the UK. So
yeah. So
yeah. Yeah.
I don't mind coming back. Again next week.
That would be awesome. Next week would be and then next week we will read about the again Men of the Manosphere review, a truly terrifying hour. So apparently this one's a documentary according to its maker, but I kind of wonder how much of it is actually a real documentary versus this person's opinions wrapped around carefully cultivated or curated bits and pieces that,
Probably
don't
opinion.
contradict them. So, but with that, I will thank you, Richard, for coming on with us. Thanks, Mike
okay.
and Lauren, for commentary and cuteness, the cuteness of the snores. Thanks. Thanks, Brian, for working in the background to make sure everything happens, because I still have not had the time to even, I haven't even set up my OBS setup on the new computer. And thanks to everybody for listening, because this has been quite an interesting show. But in the meantime, we got no super chats and no Rumble rants, but we did get a super chow from Meredith G, who said HBR Talk 387, honey for the Badgers, and gave us $5. And good night, all.
Good night.
See you next
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.